So we have an Apollo Air today. I've worked on the scooter before. Show you how to do these tires. They're kind of tricky, these smaller ones. Kind of a pain. Most people might not agree, but this is kind of set up for so I can do the video more. But these are 19. Obviously you don't lose this lock washer. Alright, so we need to be careful with the motor wire. That's kind of why we're sitting here. Huh? Is it jammed a little? You might need to get a pliers. Because the axles here, if they're not straight, then the tire won't fall out. So you gotta see how I wiggled that out. Alright, so we're gonna do it like this so we don't have to remove the wire and everything. It's controversial because you don't want to pull too much on the wire. So we're gonna flip down the kickstand and lay this down. You can do it like this, you just need to be careful with the motor wire. So just make sure you're careful. Alright, these tires are kind of tricky to take off and put on. So we're gonna cheat with some Bead Lube. It's the best method I have found to do this. So let's see here, we'll position ourselves a little better. Well, there's enough light in here. Kind of feel like there's not. A little dark, that's okay. So, to get this off, you can see here, this rim's already been owned a few times. You can see how this is like mated on there. So, what I like to do is I put some Bead Lube in there, okay? And that Bead Lube's gonna go down and it's gonna help us. Because we have to pop this tire off, this bead. And these tires are tricky, but you see that? See that with that Bead Lube? That is the trick. I'm telling you, I've done this a bunch of times, and that was the solution I came up with. So, we basically just take this again, take our Bead Lube, and we're just gonna be a little liberal around the edges, okay? And then what that does then is you can see how this tire now just slid right off. Didn't even damage the motor wire, barely put any pressure on. Look at that. So, and then the next trick, I mean, this rim's already kind of owned, so it's kind of okay. Customer before, when they brought it to me, tried to attempt to do it, then had issues. You can see here how I'm just taking it real easy, watching the motor wire. And look at that. Pops right off because of the Bead Lube. This is the trick. Stuff that people aren't telling you about. You have the black tar in there, but you see how this stuff, this is why I don't really like these self-sealing tires. Look at that. Look how that didn't even last in there. I'm putting another self-sealing tire on because that's what the customer probably wanted, but you see how that looks when it's new? That's why I don't like that stuff. Ugh. Alright, so you gotta remember direction of the motor, being careful of the motor wire. It is mounted down here on a clip. You can undo this to get more room, which I can probably show you. I think it's just a 10 mil, but we'll just show you just to show. You want to actually have more room to work with the motor. So there's a little, pretty sure, is it 8 mil? Oh yeah, wow, it's 8 mil, not 10. Mistake. There's a little nut in there. Pain in my butt. Can't get the little ratcheting end on it. I guess we're just gonna have to slave through this. And you'll see here, once I get this reflector off, it holds a little clip. So this comes, and that comes with it. And then you see the little clip. So we took that out just to show you. It'll give you a little bit more room, see. Probably help the tire install. So now, make sure you get the direction right. The rotational direction. Motor goes up this way on this side, so rotation's this way. So do that. All right, we're gonna do what we did before. We're gonna just put a little bit of bead lube, making kind of a mess. You want to get on the inner rim of it more than the outer. Right here. It won't wreck anything. Alright. So, I always tell myself it's backwards to this. So then you gotta try to like slip this over the rim. Which can be a pita. I'm gonna move this. Get a better, different angle. How we looking? Alright. So, these are why these tires are a pain in the butt. But with bead lube, it's a lot more possible. So we're gonna pop first initial thing over. Ooh. Okay, we're on. All right, got the first part. Now we gotta get some zip ties. The more zip ties you use, the easier it'll be to put on. This tire's still a pain in the butt. These are probably some of the harder tires to do. That's about crushing it. Zip tie. And these smaller tires like this, and I have no idea why these are harder. Even if you watch my video, you might still fail, and I'm sorry. Because I might, if I have to, I'll cheat and I'll use my bead blaster cannon, but I'm trying to show you how to do it without it. But like I said, the bead lube is the main thing to slipping that tire on. And then these zip ties, trying to crush this tire like I'm doing. We might be able to get away with it with this many. All right, so tire stays crushed down. Okay, we're gonna try to get this lower lip in there. So what I always do is, first we gotta get that lip in there. All right, see? It's a little better angle. All right, and then I put the tire spoon up here, and we're stretching. You see how the crushed tire can sit inside the tire rim? So I'm gonna go like this, I'm gonna go like this. And look at that, you do that and you won't wreck the bead of the tire. More tool ready for the video, but I'm up at my shop, so I don't really care. All right, I like to use this bolt cutters because I won't wreck the tire. It's something sharp, be careful when you're cutting these. Obviously, if they don't come out easy, you might have to use the pliers. All right, this is when this gets kind of hard. All right, well, you might get lucky because we're gonna bead lube both sides. All right, so now since you have this crushed tire side, you're gonna have to kind of pull this up a little. See, so it pops into the bead a little bit more. So that way we can shoot some air in it. And hopefully, it'll stick the first time, but it's very doubtful. These tires are a pita. So what I'm gonna do is bead lube it on both sides around the edge. All right, And then we're gonna see if it's just gonna shoot air in. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Let's see what happens. You hear that? You hear that? That's that bead lube. Without that bead lube, that would have not just popped on that smooth. It lubes it and then it allows the tire to slide with the air. That is the trick. If you don't do that, this won't work. Okay? You can try a million ways and it's not gonna work. Okay? So don't forget, it's 2 spacers that go on each side of this motor. You can see how the motor wire is still intact. Everything's good. We're chill. We'll clean up the bead lube after. It doesn't really hurt anything. It's just it usually evaporates itself. I'm gonna slide this motor back on if I can. This angle. Yep. Pick up the scooter. And the rest should be self-explanatory. You know, you put these washers back on, tighten this, and you're done. Obviously, when we took off that little reflector, the little reflector has that little screw in the mounting hold clip here. So make sure you get that correct to make sure the motor wire is not going to hit, and then you're done. But bead lube is the trick to how to put these tires on.